stretch myself out wide. I stretch myself out wide. To rather look inside your plane with your descending architecture, your nature as a metaphor. Maybe you was a tell of truth, what you're telling me for then. Those mountains and trees will ever fall through the valley for the clouds, through stability for the midst of the movement. Funny. I stretch myself out wide. To rather look inside your plane with your descending architecture, your nature as a metaphor. Maybe you was a tell of truth, what you're telling me for then. Those mountains and trees will ever fall through the valley for the clouds, through stability for the midst of the movement. Finding your unformed for the individual to be the not for the true identity. You would be at clues as formations, so this is how gradual the process of your transformation is. For the gradually shifting will happen until this suddenly for the entirety, this for the person for the entirely different. Or significant to be for the knowing for the tree that will still have a seed for the knowing, the growth constantly changing while remaining the same for the dwelling inside of the results with the content for the growing, whether or not was going, the seedling for the shooting, and the more mature tree for the only to go, for not to be the process but the journey. Look inside your plane with your descending architecture, your nature as a metaphor. Maybe you was a tell of truth, what you're telling me for then. Those mountains and trees will ever fall through the valley for the clouds, through stability for the midst of the movement. Finding your unformed for the individual to be the not for the true identity. You would be at clues as formations, so this is how gradual the process of your transformation is. For the gradually shifting will happen until this suddenly for the entirety, this for the person for the entirely different. Or significant to be for the knowing for the tree that will still have a seed for the knowing, the growth constantly changing while remaining the same for the dwelling inside of the results with the content for the growing, whether or not was going, the seedling for the shooting, and the more mature tree for the only to go, for not to be the process but the journey.
Yourself in a position to find one who does not have a friend that wants done to be a friend of mine. There is a bankruptcy in that pure gain. The moon is say brighter when it doesn't want to before the night. Rose wears success, essence live from the sword of thorns, or maybe they're not here for the courage and the falling of what you want to become. The truth in there is broken in the open place of a lover, where those qualities of bravery are sharpened, the compassion of another, whether you have the old and the frozen thoughts. Howling the hurt to not to the treasury, the gold is stored as this is for the copper, the alchemist's talent. You heat up like that you change, and half-hearted with the holding back and well enough to get by here. If you wanted that visible reality, you can give yourself in that and be an unseen world for you not living it and the truth. Wishing yourself foolishness for the be forgiving or forgetting, but what you really want is love and confusing joy. And lay by myself with the both of yourself, not for the light of the land and nowhere for the clever cloud to be just as thick enough for the butter surface, and I am already a living with the ocean. Part of your David name is precipitation. It was defined and defined the forward and pay patience and knowledge, and just as the sense of words of wisdom will ever find is nurture. Ask maturity, you can find the whole idea yourself to borrow from those who have no idea who you are for the accepted modern mystics. Words of peace and various of expressions is source. Wisdom is that for the X chromosomes and Y, then maybe you lie for this to be remarkable as I spiritually means waking up for the most people you can find it who are asleep and define. Work the journey 1,000 miles apart with each step, but you can find it selected. power. To return to that reflection, the principle, the course, and the miracle, the deepest of fear, inadequate as you can find that speech. Silent versus the reality. Places you can find inside your mind, it's not fantasy, it's just a place for you to reside and rest. I guess it was sad to speak to, for the stillness inside of your voice is only to beckon you, for the following away your heart to sleep and sleep and find the wings and folded for the yielding, the wing, the you, the sword, the hidden, the wanted upon your pants and wound you, for the speaking of the you to believe in. Though the voice may shadow you for the dreams of north and wind and wine and waste in the garden of your crown. You were the shell for you be crucified, for even if you had the growth for that you could be pruning. Even as ascending for the hype and careless in your tenderness, for the branches that quiver inside of the sun, for that you could descend inside of the roots, for shaking them in the kind and the cleaning of the earth, for the sheaving of the corn, for you gather yourself into you. Or the thresholds of you making naked gifts until you free for the husk. Grind for this to be the night and these. An assignment to the sacred, and only the bread for the sacred feast. Secrets of your heart for the intimate knowledge, and for the common fragments of the life's heart. Don't start that, for the gain the seeds in this where you can shall life and find that. Not for the self, for the taking it for itself, for the sufficient amount in a heart. And of course it'll direct you to the course and other side of desire, fulfill yourself. Milling and the running of the brook and sings like a melody at night. And whether or not you know it, for the pain to be too much, your tenderness and the winging of the heart, for the thanks for that to be another day, for the gratitude, for the solitude, for the ecstasy, for the everything to be filled with the tears. How else can it be? The deeper that can sorrow carve and digs to be more for the joy that would contain. Burning inside of that like it was inside of the oven, and soothing the spirit through maybe the hollow of the nights in the heart. Or that for the be the deli depart. That is the giving you with the joy to look again inside your heart, for the finding the light, the sorrow, the greater imperil, inseparable, for the bleeding of what you can find the sorrow for your joy. Balance, all with one empty standstill, for the balance in which you can find the treasure to keep you still, for the lifting of the what you can weigh, the gold divided the silver, then must be the joy, the sorrow, the rise and fall in yourself. It was all for the Thanksgiving, your fireside, for the board, but whether or not you can have that, for the peace of mind, for the whether or not you will be the without, with the friendship, for the thought unclaimed, whether you are not him to be carrying yourself, for the clear absence of your mouth. Let there be no purpose in whether for the deepening of your spirit, for the all you can disclose yourself, for the managed, the profitable, ABT for the time, for the it could be flowing down, for this to be the pride, emptiness, and you cannot be humble, the do for the little things of heart to find itself in the morning and refresh. I guess I had a question, it was spoken to the day but audio, so I get I had a needed reflection, for neither or not you can be wondering for the soul, for the hands, and you still find that loom for the occupation, and whether or not you have the body. Put yourself for the wearing morality, for the best of around your naked body, for the morality is only the win, for the sun to tear yourself a hole inside. I define your conduction. Conduit for the freeze and gnawing your nipple, not the areola for the area, whole all together, for this is not imperial. Your daily life for the tip of the inside yourself, and whom I find and worship begin to do what you combine, the conducting of a birth in the cage in the song. Be sitting in the rain. There's that community of the stir. 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 You can join the field of the lights in the noise, just weeping the noise. Drink out of the passion and disgrace. Close both eyes to see with the other. Beyond ideas of wrongdoing, you're righteous. You're the field for the meeting, you there for this is the soul for the lying in that grass. The world too full to talk about the ideas and the language, even the phase of either doesn't make any sense, or maybe the moving water. When do you do things from the soul, for even the feeling of the river, for the moving in you? When actions come from another section, for the feeling of disappearing, for the don't let others lead you, for the they me lead you, for the blind, for the worst, and the vulture, for the reaching of the rope. What is that for the putting aside of self-will because of the willfulness? People that sit that for the jail, for the trap birds and wings are tired, for fish and skilled and silly. Anger for the police and the willfulness, and you've seen them. Inflict for the visible punishment, now you see the invisible. If you can leave anything for the selfishness, and would you find how the been the torturing soul for the born for the living inside of the black water and the wealth, and how could you find the open wheel feel sunlight is and don't still is and sits ongoing on whether or not you can find a spring, the way to your health, the way to your soul. Insist on going there for the only to form the pieces of honor and the harmony, for the moving in places that floats inside of the air, for the balcony your clear water flowing through. Infinity everywhere, for yet contained under the single tent, for not intrigued with the evening, and maybe it was the intentions for the material, for the values and not for the fine to shine the same in truth of the soul. You have not been interested in the shadow for we look instead of the direction at the sun. And we can know by just watching. The time has just begun for the space and shapes of each another, for the somehow awaken inside that night. Imagine every dangerous and yet the morning star rise. Horizon grows defined for the people becoming friends in the movie. You can carry the van for the night, for the birds and they think for the daybreak, for the kind of. There's that community of the street. 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 You can join the field of the lights. There's that. There's that.
There's that.
It's
There's
not
that
right
community.
to get uptight, to fold your hands and cry. Stand up and fight with all of your might. You can make it if you try. Oh, no. It's a new day. It's a new day. Wow, coming down.
There's that.
What
There's
you
that.
gonna do?
There's that community of the street. Or you can join the field of the lights. In the noise, you speak, being the noise. Drink out of the passion of disgrace. Close both eyes to see with the other. Beyond ideas of wrongdoing, you're righteous. You're the field for the meeting, you there for this is the soul for the lying in that grass. The world too full to talk about the ideas and the language, even the fades of either doesn't make any sense or maybe the moving water. When do you do things from the soul, for even the feeling of the river, for the moving in you? When actions come from another section, for the feeling of disappearing, for the don't let others. There's that community. There's that community.
There's that.
There's nothing I could do, so no, take it back where it used to be. Something
There's that.
you got gets me, hit me from the start. Now I know, baby, this for sure. You done stole my heart.
There's that community of the street. There's that community of the street. There's that community of the street. Or you can join the field of the lights. You know you speak, being you know. Drink out of the passion of disgrace. Close both eyes to see with the other. Beyond ideas of wrongdoing, you're righteous. You're the field for the meeting, you're there for this is the soul for the lying in that grass. The world too full to talk about the ideas and the language, even the fades of either doesn't make any sense or maybe the moving water. When do you do things from the soul, for even the feeling of the river, for the moving in you? When actions come from another section, for the feeling of disappearing, for the don't let others lead you, for the they me lead you, for the blind, for the worst, and the vulture for the reaching of the rope. You, what is that for the putting aside of self-will because of the willfulness? People that sit there for the jail, for the trap birds and wings are tired, for fish and skilled and silly. Anger for the police and the willfulness, and you've seen them. Inflict for the visible punishment, now you see the invisible. If you can leave anything for the selfishness, and would you find how to bend the torturing soul for the born, for the living inside of the backwater and the well, for how could you find an open wheel, feel, sunlight is and don't, still is insists, ongoing on whether or not you can find a spring, the way to your health, the way to your soul, insist on going there for the only the form, the pieces of honor and the harmony, for the moving in places that floats inside of the air, for the balcony, your clear water flowing through. Infinity everywhere, for yet contained under the single tent, for not intrigued with the evening, and maybe it was the intentions for the material, for the values and not for the fine to shine the same in truth of the soul. You have not been interested in the shadow, for we look instead of the direction at the sun. We can know by just watching. The time has just begun for the space and shapes of each another, for the somehow awakens at that night. Imagine every dangerous in depth, the morning star rise. Horizon grows defined for the people becoming friends in the booth. They can carry the van for the night, for the birds and may think for the daybreak, for the kind of darkness, and because you can all that know, fortunate soul, birds who not can tree with the evening, who flies in the sun will call you yourself. And breeze back in dawn for the secrets yet to tell. Going back to sleep and you can never ask for what you really want. People are going back and forth across the door sill. Rather with the two worlds touch, the door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. There's a way between the voice and the presence. Information flows in discipline for the silence it opens when wandering talking closes for a while to living with the people with the salt inside of the form for the faithfulness and we wanted forever to be the high completed within the self and the hiding in the metal for the fire hides in the rock. This is what we have now. Imagination, this is not grief or joy for judging state. Inhalation for your sadness and you can come and go for the presence that doesn't matter for the bird song brings relief. To my longing for just a static. Guess you are really not starved for the pleasing of what you can find a universal soul for the practicing of what your song is sending something through me. Regarding and feeling the pain, for like I hand and a can, cutting the battle for the considering the body of a rope you wear. Meetings of somewhere you love, for kissing the clothes of who's inside. Union with the God is sweeter than the body to comfort the hands and the feet. Different from these, sometimes in a dream we see them, for that is not elusive for the sea. And truly you have that spirit body for the don't dread the leaving the physical. Sometimes feeling like that truth is so strong, believing that you can live inside the mountain for the solitude, for the totally refreshing worry. Dogging, or a dog I meant for the woman to seem worried. Futile for the derivatives and enjoying the life for the breeze of the spirit. Not that for the Christian, a Jew, or Muslim, or Hindu, for the Buddhist itself, for your Zen, for you're not any religion, for the cultural system, but not from the east or west. From the ground, for the natural, ethereal, for the composing of the elements when they do not exist. I am not for the entity, for the world, for the end of the next. Descend for the Adam and Eve, for not for the any origin. A place is placeless, and the trace of traces, and with the never divided this over the belonging to the beloved. Haven't seen the two, for the two worlds was not the call, for the no one to know, for the person last and outer, for the inner, the breathing of human beings. See. There's that community of the street. There's that community of the street. There's that community. There's that community of the street. There's that community. There's that community of the street. You can join the field of the lights in the noise, just sweeping the noise. Drink out of the passion of disgrace. Close both eyes to see with the other. Beyond ideas of wrongdoing, you're righteous. You're the field for the meeting. You there for this is the soul for the lying in that grass. The road too full to talk about the ideas, the language, even the fades of either doesn't make any sense, or maybe the moving water. When do you do things from the soul, for even the feeling of the river, for the moving in you? When actions come from another section, for the feeling of disappearing, for the don't let others lead you, for the they me lead you, for the blind, for the worst, and the culture, for the reaching of the rope. What is that for the putting aside of self-will because of the willfulness? People that sit that for the jail, for the trap birds and wings are tied, for fish and skilled and silly. Aim for the police and the willfulness, and you've seen them. Inflict for the visible punishment, now you see the invisible. If you can leave anything for the selfishness, and would you find the how to bend the torturing soul for the born for the living inside of the backwater and the wealth, and how could you find the open wheel feel sunlight is and don't still is insists ongoing on whether or not you can find a spring, the way to your health, the way to your soul. Insist on going there for the only the form, the pieces, the honor, and the harmony, for the moving in places that floats inside of the air, for the balcony, your clear water flowing through. Infinity everywhere, for yet contained under the single tent, for not intrigued with the evening, and maybe it was the intentions for the material, for the values and not for the fine to shine, the same in truth is so. You have not to be interested in the shadow, for when you look instead of the direction at the sun, you make it known by just watching. The time has just begun for the spaces, shapes of of each another, for the somehow awakens at that night. Imagine every dangerous and yet the morning star rise. Horizon grows defined for the people becoming friends in the movie and carry the van for the night for the birds and may think for the daybreak for the kind of darkness and because you can all that know fortunate soul birds or who like a tree with the evening who flies in the sun will call yourself. A breeze back in dawn for the secrets yet to tell. Going back to sleep and you can never ask for what you really want. People are going back and forth across the door sill. Rather with the two worlds touch the door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. There's a way between the voice and the presence. Information flows and discipline for the silence it opens when wandering talk it closes for a while to living with the people with the salt inside of the form for the faithfulness and we wanted forever to be the high completely within the self and the hiding in the metal for the fire hides in the rock. This is what we have now. Imagination, this is not grief or joy for judging state and elation for your sadness and you can come and go for the presence that doesn't matter for the bird song brings relief. To my longing for just a static, guess you are being not starved for the pleasing of what you can find a universal soul for the practicing of what your song is and something through me. Regarding and feeling the pain, for like a hand and a can cut in the battle for the considering the body of a rope you wear. Meetings of somewhere you love for kissing the clothes of who's inside. Union with the God is sweeter than the body to comfort the hands and the feet. Different from these, sometimes in a dream we see them for that is not the illusion for the sea. Truly you have that spirit body for the don't dread the leaving the physical. Sometimes feeling like that truth is so strong, leaving you can live inside the mountain for the solitude for the totally refreshing worry. Dogging, or a dog I meant for the woman to seem worried. Futile for the derivatives and enjoying the life for the breeze of the spirit. Not that for the Christian, a Jew, or Muslim, or Hindu, for the Buddhist, or self, or your Zen. You're not any religion for the cultural system benign, from the east or west. From the ground, for the natural, ethereal, for the composing of the elements when they do not exist. I am not for the entity, for the world, for the internet, descend for the Adam and Eve, or not for the any origin. A place is placeless in the trace of traces, and with the never the body that's over the belonging to the beloved. Haven't seen the two, for the Wutu world was not the call, for the no one to know, for the personalized and the outer, for the inner, the breathing of human beings. See.